Welcome back, guys. So in today's video, I'm going to be teaching you how to make this PB inspired bowling table. I really don't know what to call it, but they're wanting $700 for on sale. I figured out how to build it for 20 bucks. So you know me, I cannot just stop at something normal. So went ahead and put a built-in cell phone charger in there while we were at it. I'll be teaching you step by step on how to build this thing, how simple that it is to cut these holes and to get this look, and that you could actually just do this with hand tools if you needed to. So yes, this build may look intimidating with this kind of optical illusion thing that they have going on here, but it is a super simple DIY project. This is what I would consider a beginner's project. So let me show you what I'm talking about, and let's hop into this video. All right, guys, so let's get started. Here's the first little tip. Anytime you find these in the back of your miter saw, make sure to get rid of those before you get started, because if the tooth catches one of those, it instantly becomes a projectile and bad things can happen. And so we are just cutting our parts, and as always, I will be throwing a cut list into the description, but for this build, the cut list won't be that long. And as always, if you are a plans in the hand type of person, I'll be adding this to my Etsy shop. Link's going to be in the description. And so I'll be throwing on my PPE for the table saw, which is going to be my hearing protection, my dust mask, and my eye protection. This entire build will be made from 2 construction grade 2x10s. And that's all that I'm doing is cleaning up the edges of each part and ripping the boards down to 9 inches. So as of right now, in my area, 2x10s are $9.98 a piece. So you could build this table for 20 bucks plus the cost of the charger if you choose to put that in. So with our parts cut, we are just cleaning them up a bit. We'll sand a little bit more later. Yay, well, hold up. So at this frozen point of time, we have 4 9-inch by 20-inch boards that will be our leg parts A. And we are going to place these into pairs. Now what we want to watch out for are these knots. Remember, there's going to be a 14-inch circle cut out of these. So if a jigsaw hits one of those, it's going to fall out. So make sure to place the knots either on the outside or on the inside where they'll be cut out. Now let's draw our circles. So we're just going to measure 10 inches down and make a mark in the center where the 2 boards meet. And just so we don't have any movement while we're making our circle, I'm just going to clamp these together. Now there's a ton of different ways to make circles, but I'm going to just use an old scrap board. I'll drill a hole that'll hold my pencil, and then I'm going to measure 7 inches away and install a screw in our center point. This will give me a perfect 14-inch circle. And then we'll just repeat this process one more time with our remaining leg boards A. Now with all 4 of our leg boards having a half circle, it's time to cut these babies out. And for this, I'll be using a jigsaw. Just make sure that your jigsaw blade is long enough to go through 1.5 inches material. And what is missing? My dust mask. I must have left it downstairs. And look at all that dust being kicked up. I better go get it. And it looks like I've lost my mind as well, so I'll take the elevator for this one. And the elevator's out of order. So now that we have our dust mask, let's go ahead and finish cutting these legs out. And I cannot help it, it is driving me nuts. I need to figure something out to use these scrap pieces for. They're perfectly round. So maybe a little table with hairpin legs, who knows? But if you have any ideas, make sure to throw them into the comments. So the table that inspired this build looked like that it was rough sawn lumber. Of course it wasn't rough sawn lumber, it just looked like that it was. So I'm going to show you how to get that look. And we're going to get that with an old Sawzall blade. So the blades will naturally have every other tooth or every third tooth set to the right. So I'm just going to use this nail punch and finish bending those down. Now that's all that I have to do is run the Sawzall down each of my boards, and it will give it that bandsawn look. Now this is a totally different look than other builds that we've done. In the past, we wanted things that look really old, so we used the hand-hewn look. But for this, we're going to do a rustic farmhouse look. So once we have our boards marked up, we're going to sand it down. We only want to keep the markings that are in the wood, not on top. And now we're going to glue our leg parts together. This actually took me a little bit to figure out exactly how they did this and why they did this. And then it hit me. This was being sold by the PB. And they want a product that can ship flat and the customer can easily assemble when they get it. And this is the only way they do it. And to be honest, it's pretty genius coming from a company that can sell an icicle to an Eskimo. So with our parts dry, helps if that's on there. Let's go ahead and make sure to sand our joints. Wood glue does not accept stains, so we want to make sure to remove any wood glue that is on the surface. And I know I said earlier that we're cutting all of our parts out first, but I didn't do it. So I'm now cutting my top parts. These parts will be labeled B. So before I cut these, I'm going to go ahead and put my fake bandsaw markings down the board. And if you've already cut these parts, then just put the bandsaw markings down like you did the other ones. But we're going to need 3 of these, and they're going to be 24 inches long. And the reason why I chose this board is because of the resin. Notice all those dark spots at the end of the board, and this board weighed probably 3 times as much as the other board. That is the pine resin, and the reason why I wanted that for the tabletop is that it would naturally give it an ambered look. So with everything cut, let's go ahead and glue this up. So a lot of people may wonder why we use our fingers to actually spread the glue. Personally, I like to do it because I'm not going to spend a ton of money on a special tool just to spread glue, and if there's any sawdust left on the edges of the board, I can feel it with my finger and actually pick it out. So with everything square, glued, and clamped up, let's go ahead and go back to our table legs and finish those. So now we need to cut notches in our legs, and the notch needs to be the same thickness as our material, so 1.5 inches. So that's all that I'm doing is measuring 3/4 of an inch in on both sides of our glue joint. That gives us 1.5 inches. Now we need to cut this notch out. The easiest way that I could think of was the table saw, but honestly, this could have easily been done just with your jigsaw. So if you're still with me at this point, then you obviously like a little something about the video, so don't forget to hit the subscribe button and the notification bell. And this is the greatest part. So with these notches cut, we can simply slide it together. Everything locks into place. So now it's time to get our stain on. And I want this to look, rustic like what we had talked about, but not too bad. So I'm going to do some stain stacking. I'm going to go around all of my edges with this espresso colored stain. And then I'll go over the top of that with a Mem-Wax Early American. The espresso is Mem-Wax as well. And this is what it looks like with these 2 stains. But I'm not done yet. Now it's time to sand this back down a bit, keeping our dark saw marks. So I'm going for that vintage amber look. So I'm going to go over the top of this with a Bare Things Red Mahogany. And once that dries, I'm just going to take an 800 grit sanding pad and just lighten up the areas that I would like highlighted. I'll be leaving some divots without stain at all. And I'll actually be lightening up a lot of different areas. This just helps it to make it look like a piece of furniture that's been in an old farmhouse, knocked around by the kiddos, and survived all of these years. Okay, so once the top is dry, let's go ahead and put a 45-degree bevel on this. You can use a table saw, you can use a jigsaw, and you can actually use a circular saw. But for this look, what I'm wanting is for the bevel to start 1/2 inch from the top. And now you can see where that resin gives it that natural color and natural character. Yeah, it's a little harder on your saw blades, but it makes for a beautiful top. Now I'll stain this just like my legs, except I do not have to do the last step with the red mahogany. The pine resin is naturally doing that for me. So now that our tabletop and our bottom is done, let's go ahead and install some hardware. I'm going to start with some furniture levelers. I'll put a link in the description for these levelers, but that's all that you need to do is drill 5/16 holes to hold the 1/4 inch T-nut, and make sure the depth of the hole is the length of the leveler bolt. And this hardware is pie to install. You just hammer in your T-nuts and screw in your leveler bolt. Okay, so with that done, let's go ahead and install the hardware to attach the tabletop to the base. And since we're making this so we can disassemble it and ship it anywhere, I'll be using figure 8 fasteners to attach the base to the top. And it's as simple as using a spade bit or a Forstner bit to make a little pocket to hold the hardware. And you want your figure 8 fastener to sit flush with the top of the board. So with these installed, it makes attaching the base to the top a piece of pie, as long as it's not pumpkin pie. And if you're not putting a phone charger in this, then you're done. But if you do want a phone charger, this is how we're going to do it. We're going to pretend like we did not just attach the base, but before you remove it, trace out where the legs were at. We'll need that later. And now we need to cut out a pocket the diameter of the charger. And this can be done several different ways. You can use a router if you have one, a hole saw, or even just a bit and make several different cuts. So I'm going to show you one way to do it with a hole saw and a Forstner bit. Now the only reason I'm even using the hole saw is just so I can get a circle perfect. And then I'm going to start using this bit to auger out my material. And really this can be accomplished without the hole saw, but you want to make sure to set your depth, that way you don't drill all the way through your table. This particular charger supposedly charges through 1 inch of material, So with all of this pine resin, I'm going to go ahead and bring this down to 3/4 of an inch. Now we need to install the bracket to hold this in. So we're going to trace this out, and we can remove this material using the same bit as before. You could also use a chisel, but I'm going to use this handy dandy oscillating tool. Now we need to make a channel to hide our cord underneath of the table. And again, you can do this really any way that you would like. You could use a chisel, an oscillating tool, or the fastest way to do it is with a router. And this is why I said to mark the legs. We'll bring our channel over to the center of the leg and follow the leg all the way down to about 1/2 of an inch from the end. But again, you do not have to have a router to do this. A chisel will work just fine. And now we need to make a hidden channel in our leg. So I'm going to cut a 1/2 of an inch strip off the edge of the closest leg to my charger. And after it took me 5 minutes to figure out why my material was not laying flat, I removed the figure 8 fastener from that side. So with the edge removed, I'm just going to mark center all the way down to about 1 inch from the bottom. Don't go past that inch. You do not want to cut into that T-nut. Sparks and wood, no good. Oh, come on. That was a good one. So yes, my channel's cut all the way to the end, but maybe I shouldn't have hit that Kentucky bourbon bottle before I did it because it's a little crooked, but luckily it's going to be covered. And we're just going to be putting back the piece that we cut off earlier. And I'm just going to drill a 1/2 of an inch hole, Dex, through what I'm going to call my cat board. And I'm going to feed my wire through there. Once it's laying in the channel, I'm going to glue this cat board back on. Then we'll throw a couple little clamps into place and let this dry. But make sure that when you're clamping this, do not put a clamp on the very end going all the way to the bottom. You do not want too much pressure there, and it could actually break the board. So with our wire hidden in our leg, let's go ahead and put this together. We'll install the charger first, and then we'll put our wire into the channels that we have made, pulling any excess wire out the bottom of the table leg. Place our legs back where they belong and fasten everything back together. And now we have a cell phone charging end table that, though PB wants $700 for, without the charger. Oh no, not today. Not from this community. We'll make our own. And not only will we make our own, it's going to be better. Well guys, I hope that you have enjoyed that video, and as always, we're able to take something away from it. What I would like for you to take away from this is the fact that we can make a super cool table just by using our head. So I saw something neat that had potential. I just had to figure out how they did it. And once I kind of broke everything down just in my mind, because there's no videos teaching you how to do this, and they're obviously not going to teach you how to do it, I was actually able to envision how they did it and how to replicate that for less than 20 bucks. This is what we came up with. So that's what I want you to focus on. If you see something that you like, or if you see something that you're interested in, break it apart in your mind. See if you can do that. So instead of waiting for someone to teach you how to build something, try to do it yourself. Try to break it apart and figure it out. That is how you grow in woodworking, and that is what helps to unleash your creativity. So the next time that you see something that catches your eye, don't just pass it up. Actually stop, analyze the piece of furniture or whatever it is that you're looking at, and see if you can figure out how they did it. And then once you have that figured out, then bring it to graphing paper or a computer program if you're into all of that. And so that is where we get the seeds of our next ideas. So it does not have to be exactly the same as the photo that you're looking at, but it's just the seed of the idea to grow on. So like this table was a super cool idea, kind of tricky figuring out how they joined everything together. But then I put my own twist to it by adding in the charger, my own distressing techniques, my own way to join the top to the base. That way everything can be collapsible to be shipped. So that is what I'm talking about whenever I say a seed of an idea. You're just taking the concept and running with it. So as far as marketing these types of tables, you know what you have in it, and you know what the competition is selling it for. So let's try to find a happy little medium there. And if it is a custom build, the price point will change depending on what the customer wants. So let's say that they do not want the built-in charging station. That is going to save you quite a bit of time, and you don't have the cost of the actual hardware. So then you have 20 bucks and about a day's worth of work. Everyone's time value of money is just a little bit different, so you'll have to factor that in yourself. But for something that is kind of unique, and really the only competition out there right now that is selling this is wanting $700 for this. I don't see why you couldn't get 400 bucks out of this. And again, it costs us 20 bucks, not counting stain, paint, the little hardware things. With all of that, you're probably talking maybe 2 or 3 bucks worth of material. Yes, essentially you do have to factor in everything, but around $20 to $25 is what you can kind of budget for. As always, thank you guys so much for watching and supporting this channel. This channel has grown like crazy and it is awesome. Before you cut out, make sure to check out our brag boards. The brags are piling in, and while you are there, make sure to check out our Patreon community. Until next time, guys, go out there, find something that has caught your eye, figure out how they made it, and get that seed of an idea in your head for your next project. Till next time, guys, see ya.